So if you want a Neo Splash, that's it. No other shooters. 3+ unique weapon classes, so you can only repeat one of them. No repeat specials, and if you have Tentamissiles, Crab Tank, or Triple Ink Strike, you are not allowed to run Special Charge Up. Looks like we're getting going here, so you can see how these comps are playing out. You can see no double shooter. In fact, there's only one only one splash going on here.
Something unique that I like to point out is that Rabid here is actually opting for triple splat bomb with the weapons that they have. So that, as we know how splat bombs work, you can just roll them around and just absolutely control areas. And depending on the abilities that you have, a lot of them, some will run Subsaver. And basically, you can just create a team bomb rush and just control areas. And as we can see, Rabid is doing that quite well. They've already got 3 down again on Neo Haters, and they're just pushing right up here and have a solid amount of control. And with the weapons that they've chosen, they're able to just use the mid-range that they have. They do have a lot of mid-range with the Slosher Bamboo and Doolies able to just work together here. And, of course, the Splat Bombs just to keep it as a backup plan.
I'm really digging the triple midline comp. We saw that at 20XX from Flippa Floppa, and I said, I want more teams experimenting with this. So I love to see it, even if it is a restriction tournament. Seeing some teams, seeing if they can make it work. Oh, they might actually get the flip.
They're so close!
They have the numbers. They should be able to do it.
Oh,
this game isn't over yet. This isn't a 0 to 100. Let's go.
Ooh. That was really close. Like, they were just on the zone there, and if one of them had went down, it could have prudentially prevented Cap. But
that's huge.
It is a
they
very
got down
huge
the
pick.
Bamboo.
Bamboo went down to the Fizzy Bomb there, and we see that Neo Haters is in control finally. The Machine in a good spot there. They did pick off the brush just underneath. Specials coming out for Rabid. They have the Wave Breaker and one other coming out. The Machine able to get a pick, though. 2 down on the side of Rabid for 1 on Neo Haters, and they are just trying to control these areas in the corner. They do see that they went around the corner. Adapt, able to get that pick. Going back on zone here, isn't quite able to cap it, but they do manage to get that pick on zone, which does apply extra paint, and Rabid comes back in for the cap.
Both of these teams doing a pretty solid job of being able to hold once they've got the zone. This is definitely back and forth. This is not a steamroll here. Each team has been able to get multiple picks while they've had control of the zone, which has let them score a significant amount more than they would have if they had just tried to hold for the length of that push. So, love to see it here. Oh, they've got the brush pinned in the corner there. Great eye by Rabid there to be able to catch them out. And that should enable them to be able to stop this push dead, even with the Crab Tank active. And I think that's probably going to be game based on the numbers that we've got here. They've got a big bubbler blocking the zone. It's a wipe. It's over. Good job to Rabid for having some really, really strong pushes there and being able to snowball them by getting picks even on the retake.
Just no hesitation whatsoever. Just threw the splat bombs forward to lead them in, and then they just had the constant aggression with specials following back after each other to keep Neo Haters back for a while. But also, good job to Neo Haters for finally get those extra picks. They did come back, cap that zone. Game's not over till it's over. And did really well. And when Rabid came back in, Neo Haters popped a bunch of specials to try to keep them back. Rabid actually countered that really well, like read the play. The crab came out from Neo Haters plus 1 other, I think, and the tri-strike from the Slosher came out in return to counter the crab, so the crab really couldn't get much done, and they actually pinned the splash in the corner and were able to hold zone till the end there and eventually get that wipe.
Yeah, keeping the opponents, out of an area where they're going to be able to paint the zone was great there. They kind of ran into Rabid, but got forced off to the side. They got deflected into an area of the map that wasn't really relevant at that time, and kind of split the team up, but also made it so that there just wasn't any firepower to aim at the zone. The crab was on low ground. It didn't have a good angle on anything. Really, really well deflected. And I think that's something that we can kind of expect from more of a midline comp. A midline comp, it's all about being able to hold the zone once they've got control of it. Getting control of it with any longer ranged weapons is the hard part. And typically what you see is teams using a combination of specials that's like very rehearsed and practiced to get themselves into that position of control. But once they have control, since they have that extra range and they can stop frontline weapons from running at them, they have a much easier time holding. And I think the combination of the bamboo, which has always functioned as a brick wall in Splatoon, and the slosher that can hit up over ledges, made it really difficult for Neo haters to set up on those defensive strongholds and get anything out of them.
And with the extra range as well, especially on Hagglefish, with it being more of a wide open area and more lengthy, there's not a whole lot to hide behind when the mid lines have more control. So we could see the Brush had a really hard time trying to come forward to pick off any of Rabid's members. They tried to sneak around the sides, but as we could see, even in the one moment, Rabid doing a good job calling that out and actually trapping the Brush in a corner, and we're just using the range to the advantage to keep out Neo haters, which are really struggling to come back forward.
Yeah, that's one of the things about Hagglefish. It's that, yes, there are kind of 3 lanes, but they're all right next to each other. They're really close to each other, and you can definitely guard multiple of them at a time from certain positions. So that kind of limits their effectiveness as flank routes, especially with the low amount of cover that you have in each. But we're moving on to Rainmaker Undertow. So how do you think this midline comp would fare here? Not to say that we know they're going to use it, but what do you think would happen to it here?
The midline comp actually is pretty strong on here because it's another one of those long, narrow maps. But the fact that this one isn't as wide as Hagglefish is more narrow. But if with the more, how do I put this? The more straightforward kind of like the midline shooter weapon kind of style, they have to really arc their shot to get over the spine. The spine kind of takes that down, so the bucket here that Rabbids had will actually have kind of a field day. But in return, the Brush as well, if it can kind of hug the wall on spine, it can actually counter the midline shooters as long as it kind of hugs underneath, is aware of the splat bombs that they have if Rabbids keeps a similar comp. So the comp that Neo haters would actually benefit more to them on this map because that spine creates more of a hill and adds extra protection, which can benefit for fall off.
All right, here we go. Getting started. Let's see if the comps stay the way that they were. Oh, very different comps there. On both sides, this is wild. Okay. We've got a Tri-Slosher. We've got a Junior. We've got a Carbon Deco, and we do not have a game.
Yeah, because there are 2 shooters on the field on the side of Rabid right now. And you cannot have more than one class. So it's either the T-Tech or the Junior that they can only use.
Yeah, definitely, something that the teams are going to have to get used to, just having these restrictions and having to do all this thought during the planning process. Because, I mean, a lot of teams will use all of that planning process to talk about the match and get the comps figured out, even when there aren't restrictions like this. But now that we're having to play 3D chess to figure out whether our comp meets all the criteria and also whether it's what we want to play, it's understandable that, especially early on, we're going to be seeing a few mistakes here and there. I figure once the teams kind of have an idea of which comps they want to play on which map modes, they'll have it down a little bit better. But yeah, what was it? A Junior and a
They had a Junior and a
Slash?
T-Tech.
Junior and a T-Tech, yeah.
They can only choose only the one, yep.
Illegal.
And the other, and on top of that, there's 3 specials right now that people usually run special charge up for, which is Crab Tank, Tenta Missiles, and Triple Ink Strike. The special charge up ability is not permitted for weapons with those specials, so that is another thing to account for too in this tournament.
So that's something that we're probably checking furiously on the map screen while the players are rolling out, just to make sure. All right, take 2. Let's see if they got it figured out.
There we go. They brought a Splatling into the play.
Debbie is happy about this.
I am very happy about this. I figured with here, more of the Splatlings are going to be shown up here, as of course, as we've seen, Chargers have outclassed them. But we've got the Wiper and the Splatling, followed by the Tri, and they kept the Junior as their shooter. The other team bring out a Carbon, alongside Tetra, Splash, and the Machine. So Definitely a little bit of change up. One going definitely more aggro than the other, but again, even with a heavy, you can still play pretty aggro with it. Rabid here, just with the Rainmaker up in the corner, opting to get checked. They do manage to get it, and the Wiper here, just playing bodyguard for the Rainmaker getting checked, able to actually keep Neo haters away from it and get jumps in, and Rabbids is back over here and continuing their push.
I'm keeping an eye on the special meter for that Tri-Slosher just to see, because an Inkjet up from any of these areas would be huge for them right now. This is the area that they have to clear, and it's just this one area. You have great view of it with the Inkjet, and if they can get that off, that could be devastating, but they're doing plenty well with their main weapon anyway. End up getting into a little bit too much of a crowd, but I'm excited to see the Tri-Slosher here. I don't think there were very many things that were keeping it out of the meta. And right now, you know, we're seeing a lot of teams opt in for it, and this is absolutely one of the better maps for it. Lots of great Inkjet locations, lots of these little walls that you can slosh up over the top of and get advantage over, lots of short, scrappy fights, so definitely a Tri-Slosher's playground, and I'm excited to see how that plays as well as the Carbon Deco here.
Adapt really put in some work there with the flank, getting that quick pick up over the ledge, and then we see the Heavy after this entire play just kind of controlling space in mid because they have the longest range that they can use. The only thing they have to be aware of is the crab from the splash. Fizzy able to catch off the Junior there. Really good Fizzy by Spuds, and it looks like Neo haters is going to opt to try their first push as two were only left alive on Rabid, and now they're just kind of they're going back on top to defend, unable to get checkpoint, really close there for just kind of a single run. But Rabid did spawn in back in time. They're all in the same area. They want to make sure they keep the pain control, and you can see that they are just making sure they have areas painted before they fully push forward alone. So, but Rabid getting taken down, down on that left-hand side there that we see from this perspective from the splash, and we see Crab is ready to go, plus the Reef Slider from the Tetras, but the Heavy and one other member is in the way, and it looks like Adapt coming right in to make sure the Crab cannot get any work done, and we have a neutral team fight here happening in mid.
Yeah, Neo haters got really close to getting that cap. I have to think they're hitting themselves right now, because they got so close to it, and if they hadn't hesitated on going for it, they would definitely have at least dunked it and locked in that progress. But now they're going to have to do that whole push again, and Rabid is not interested in letting that happen because they've already picked up and gotten 2 down. So this is another dangerous push for Rabid. Probably will score more if they can get this forward, but they're playing it really safe, trying to get up onto the grates for now.
Yeah, it's a really good job here, although it looks like they're just running. If they stuck by, that's going to be done.
Oh, no.
I didn't fully see what happened there, but it looks like Rabid's team members, as you can see, they just moved up all together. And of course, what is it? Like I said earlier, Rabid does have a lot of this frontline power, pressure, like coordination. They really use that to their finest here. You could see all of the front lines ahead of the Rainmaker clearing the path. I didn't see how they got the 2 picks. But I saw the Rainmaker kind of go around, and I imagine the callouts there from the team just telling the Rainmaker that it's clear, and just went right for it as the KO was in sight, and they went for it.